bill becomes a law, where do we submit a request like the same kinds of things, setting a house back a certain distance or permeable, parking spaces in dirt and concrete and those kinds of, where is that body? How does a group of citizens initiate a request like that?
You want to answer? Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Is your question, how do you initiate the legislation being brought forward? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean, whatever the codes are
Right.
that are, a simple thing, like an example would be a distance a house has to be set back from the street,
Okay.
Is that a local decision?
That would be local, that would be part of your zoning code.
A local zoning code?
Yeah.
And so how does a group of citizens try to affect change in those?
Well, you wouldn't be able to change the code yourselves. The way you would do that, the commissioners have the ability to change the codes, so.
Well, how do we
if you
begin
would
that?
do
Like, how do
The way
you-
you would begin it,
Yeah.
let me finish it. The
Sorry,
way you
sorry,
would begin
sorry.
it is that you would lobby your commissioners to try and, if you had a good idea, just like if you had any other good idea in the town, you would go to the commissioners and say, this is why we think this would be a good idea, and what do you think about this? And then there would be, we actually have an ordinance committee that would review it, see how it affects, not just one property, but the whole town.
Sure, for sure.
And then if it was something that the board thought was a good idea, we'd have to have a public hearing on it, because it would be a change on the zoning code.
Code, okay.
You'd have a public hearing for public input, and then there would be a vote on it. And if the vote carried, then it would become a law.
And I'm,
Ordinance.
and where's the access point? Like, where's step one for something like that? If our group wanted to, draft some sort of idea.
I think step one would be, you can always draft something, and then step one would be to bring it to your commissioner.
our
or to
commissioner.
Anybody, any one of the Board of the Commissioners, or the ordinance committee of the Board of Commissioners.
And how often does the ordinance committee consider
It
motions?
would just bring
Yeah.
it to your commissioner, and then they'll yeah.
Okay, well, all right.
Any ideas?
I was
Thank
gonna say,
you.
it might also, in addition, might help when you go to a fruit stand. If you're looking at zoning, go to the zoning officer and ask your questions also to see, does this fly, would it not fly? And also you're researching that as well. Because
But
that-
these
right
are
at the
local
beginning-
decisions. I just want to make sure.
Yes,
Oh,
the
it's a
local
local-
zoning
okay,
officer may be able to tell you the reasons, or maybe why or why not, you might be able to move forward or not be able to.
There's one thing I do have to add, though. They're local decisions, but they're governed by state law. So there are some laws that, or some things that commissioners can and can't do, and that's governed by the municipality's planning code. So, so while it would be, the specific question that you asked with respect to setback might be a local ordinance, the commissioners, before they enacted or amended an ordinance, would have to follow the state law, which is set out in the state municipalities planning code.
Okay, thank
So
you.
it's a little bit complicated. I mean,
No, we'll get on it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that maybe the zoning committee meet with Ms. Widup, and just to make sure, and I was going to just say what you just said, the municipal code that we're bound by as well. So maybe we could sit down with Lori, to get the committee together, sit down with Lori, just go over it, and make a recommendation to the board I mean, if we could do that.
Zoning changes also require public hearings.
Yeah, zoning changes.
It's not just an ordinance through the township. So there's public hearings, there's a municipal planning code. There's also the practical considerations that what may be appropriate in one neighborhood may be not inappropriate in another. We deal with that all the time. We had a discussion here, I don't know, right after I came on the board about subdivisions. And in some areas, it makes a lot of sense to restrict them. In other areas, people purchase properties that are large lots with the understanding that they can subdivide. And if we suddenly make global changes without sort of addressing all of that, we could be in a position where people who've expected and purchased property with large pieces of land are suddenly unable to sell them for their retirement or whatever purpose that they anticipated. It becomes a complicated situation involving, sort of the law of intended and unintended consequences. So when we deal with zoning, it becomes very difficult. It seems simple, but between the restrictions that we have imposed on us and other things, it's a challenge.
Okay. Commissioner?
No, I mean, we didn't it wasn't I mean, we have committees, and that's one of the committees,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Oh.
committee can meet
Right.
and
I mean,
make.
the committee should meet.
I agree.
And
Okay, did it? She did.
Things change.
Okay.
what I'm saying is, there is a
In a minute.
committee,
Hold
and
on.
I'm making a commitment and a promise to get that committee together, to meet with Lori, who's our expert. And you don't need to say anything now, because we'll do it together with the committee. We'll choose a time, and I don't recall who's on that committee, because really there was never really a need to meet, but it appears that there is an urgent need to meet now.
Yeah.
The zoning and
Okay.
plan, you're the chair of the zoning and planning.
As I said.
Yeah. The zoning and planning committee is Commissioner Stemilio, McGarity, Holmes, and Heilman.
Okay, well,
I think I'll send an email out to you guys, and we'll get a meeting together.
there you go. All right, we'll start that process. Anyone else? Peter Pugliese.
Peter Pugliese, 654 Lawson Avenue. I wasn't planning to speak today, but I did want to suggest the question of changing the ordinances is, as you know, very complex. But EAC and other groups, conservation groups, watershed groups, have thought about the problem of small property conservation easements for a long time. You guys may not be aware of it, but it is very common for large landowners to enter into conservation easements with groups like Natural Lands Trust, Brandywine Conservancy. But those organizations really have no interest in 10-acre properties and 5-acre properties and 2-acre properties. And the economics of entering into those agreements for small properties it's a tough pill to swallow for the homeowner. One of the things that you may want to consider is looking at a simple standard form of conservation easement that the township could enter into with a resident as the easement holder. That would be simple and economical, and perhaps people in the community, while they're more invested in the community, would be willing to enter into that kind of conservation easement and do that a little bit more proactively. I think the problem comes in when people are no longer engaged. Perhaps the homeowner passes away and the property changes hands. So this is an option that might be a little bit more, take a little bit more work, but might be something that you can do with an engaged community proactively. But if you don't have the vehicle, a simple, cost-effective way to do it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with the Conservancy. So suggest I throw that in the mix.
Okay. We are looking into doing things like that,
Thank you.
the alley of it. Okay, this side. Dr. Levin.
I just have a few comments on the Ridgeway, Woodmere Way Road. We found out about this, not in October of 13. We found out about it sometime after April of 2014. We were not invited to any meetings of the residents. There was no notice that went out. In fact, it was only recently that we were able to ask Mr. Gentili to put our names on the register for this project. We were given initial copy of the Pannoni report without any figures. It's now clear that there are 116 acres involved in this. It's a fairly large project at which not all of the inverts have been located as contributing to the flows on Ridgeway and Mill. And it was only recently that we discovered that there was a Mill Road collector that had gained the enthusiasm of everyone involved. There are a group of problems to be solved here that extend far beyond Ridgeway and Woodmere. The solution that you're reaching for may only be a temporary solution. We have only 14 people who are complaining about the existing water problem. We have no idea what measures they may have taken to obtain either flood insurance, insurance on their own homeowners' policies, which probably would not include water rising through and coming through the foundation walls. And we have no idea of the structural damage that was done or of the structures themselves. We have essentially 14 unknown properties at this point, and conceivably, there are individuals who could come forward and say, hey, us too. You already have an easement that goes through Woodmere Way, across Earlington Road, and down the hill. I suggest that that be enlarged. The Pannoni report does not make clear where the 52-inch pipe starts. My thinking is that it probably starts around the location of the triple grate, which is down Mill Road toward Cobb's Creek. I think that should be enlarged, and I think it should come back up to Earlington Road and then possibly even cross Earlington Road, if not by, if it doesn't accept all of the product that's produced down in the way of water, and upgrade it completely. You own it. You own the easement. Why not use that? The difference between a 1.5 million temporary solution and a Mill Road collector, which really doesn't have the grade, it would have to be sunk so deeply into the street that it would be unreasonable. In fact, Mr. Pannoni brought this out in this very short report.
You need to wrap this up, please.
I'll wrap this up by saying his short report is probably a function of the commissioner saying, we don't want to spend any more money on this than we have to. Let's take care of the present problem. The present problem are 11 people who are concerned with this on Ridgeway and Woodmere. There are more that are involved. Those people, which I would call the collateral damage that's going to be done by this collector on Mill Road, is serious.
Okay. Thank you.
And they have taken steps. And Mr. Oliva, they are not immune from problems similar to the ones that the people have had on Ridgeway and Woodmere.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, we already did this side, I'm sorry. Farina, you want to come? We'll let you be the last one. We can't keep going around.
Thank you for hearing us out. I'm Farina van Veen. I live at 30 Tenby. My house is known as the Denny's house. It's catty corner from 101 Tenby. We bought our house 13 years ago. I looked for a home for 6 years, and then I walked into this neighborhood and walked into this home. I was in love. The carpets were green, the floors were buckled. It didn't matter. I bought in this neighborhood because of the character of this neighborhood. And things have changed a lot. Last year they built behind me. So now from my back porch or my backyard, there is this huge house behind me. And now from my front porch, I'm gonna be possibly seeing 2 new homes. And I feel that there is a point where we all have to fight and conserve these old homes and conserve history. I wasn't born here, but my children are born here. They grew up in these neighborhoods. I would love for them in 50 years to come back to a neighborhood like it is today. So I urge you to think about how we can move forward to protect history, to save neighborhoods like these, and to really keep our gem and keep Lanark as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening. And is that right?
Mario, can,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Would you like to speak?
can you, okay.
This will be our last speaker.
My name is Linda Nestler, and I live at 29 Tenby Road. I live on the corner right across the street from 101 Tenby Road. I also have our house that I live in now. We've been here 17 years. The house next to me is a new house. They put that in 18 years ago, and they have our garage. I started dating my husband when I was 16 years old. I've been in Lanark for a very long time. I love that neighborhood. And to see that house being torn down and put up 2 new homes, I watched, my father-in-law lives at 25 East Park Road around the corner, and I watched 3 homes be built there within about 2 years. And I saw so, like, I'm gonna be going through all that, and that upsets me because our neighborhood, we have such beautiful homes. I also noticed that I did everything I was supposed to do. We put a pool in 7 years ago, and when we had a fence put up, and they were digging, I had the permits and everything, only to find out that when they built a new home next to me on Bewley, their gas line is on my property. So I'm just saying is, I don't know how these homes are going to be built. I understand one's supposed to face me, one's supposed to face this way. I'm just saying, I've been in that home, 101 Tenby. It's a beautiful house, and all of us are here because we want to keep that neighborhood the way it is. And I just hope that you guys can just, drive by it, see it, and I thank you again for listening to us tonight, and hopefully we can hold that house. I'm hoping. Thank you.
All right. Now, Dave, would you like to address the issues?
Sure, I did try to take some notes, and I have Mr. Levin's memo that he handed out tonight. I guess maybe to try to address some of the concerns, Mr. Levin indicates that he's concerned about a pipe in Mill Road would create newly created amounts of water down the Mill Road. We're not doing anything to create new water. That water exists. What a pipe would do is catch that water and channel it. Mr. Levin indicates concern about a newly excavated portion of Mill Road would then have groundwater flow along those pipes. What we as engineers do is when we have pipes in that have slopes on them, we put what are called anti-seep collars in so that the groundwater does not flow along a pipe. That's SOP, standard practice. I'm sure Mr. Lynn knows that. Ironically, if we didn't put anti-seep collars in, all the groundwater would go to the bottom of the excavation, which is down where the triple inlets are, which is below the properties that Mr. Levin is concerned about. Mr. Levin has indicated some concerns about the porosity of the soil and leading to accumulation of groundwater. Frankly, it's in direct conflict with the EAC's recommendation of trying to get water and get it underground to help to have green infrastructure and to help address some of the gray infrastructure issues. Mr. Levin indicated his concern that new pipes would settle, they'd be installed unevenly, they'd leak into the surrounding ground, and they create an entirely new source of water intrusion. Not so sure why I would say that. This existing storm sewer, which I think, Larry, we've determined is 40, 50 years old, Public Works actually televised it, and there's no indication of settled pipe that is leaking into groundwater, and frankly, this township, when they find that type of infrastructure, fixes it. I don't quite understand why this would be considered a temporary fix. As I mentioned before, oh, by the way, I agree with Mr. Levin. We do say that you could replace a pipe up the middle of the roads, make it bigger, accommodate a bigger storm. As I indicated to this board, that's more expensive, and sort of substantively more expensive. And then last, there's no reason to think that a pipe along Mill Road, which is, again, is effectively a parallel pipe, would be considered temporary, as Dave, right, here, as Dave mentioned, he actually mentioned it very logically. What it would do is to convey the stormwater that's above this neighborhood, convey it past this neighborhood, and convey it down to a lower part of the system that fortunately does have capacity for that. So I think going through my notes, I believe that addresses at least most of what I took as Mr. Levin's concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Begin with new business. Anyone with new business? Commissioner Siegel?
Yeah, Mr. President, I've raised this before at least 2 or 3 other times before this board, and it was raised by Regina Pfeiffer tonight. And at this point, since we haven't accomplished it, I would like to make a motion to authorize the township manager to take whatever appropriate steps are necessary so that we televise the meetings of the Planning Commission and the Zoning Hearing Board, which are held in this room, and I've said for years, I believe should be televised. So I'm making a motion to televise those
I
meetings.
second it.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Wexler.
Second? I'll third it.
Wait a minute, isn't there?
Are we down for the third?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, one thing. Just, Mr. Byrne, is that okay to do those things? Can you televise them? I know some towns, I don't think they do.
You can, I mean, if you have it.
Forward into the
I'm
mic.
sorry. Yeah, there's nothing illegal about televising them, for sure. I mean, you can definitely do it. It's just a matter if you have the manpower and the ability to do it, but there's nothing illegal with doing it.
I believe they do it in Springfield, don't they?
In Springfield, they televise the zoning hearing board and the commissioners' meetings. Mhm.
How about planning too? or no?
planning.
They do not do planning.
No.
I don't know of any towns that televise their planning, to be
So you're
honest with
proposing
you.
to do the zoning board, and that's it? Or are you
I would
all-
accept either, but I think the zoning board is the more important one because of the import of their decisions and the legal ramifications. I just believe that the citizens should have the ability to see. Those are the 2 major planning boards that we appoint whose decisions and recommendations have a dramatic impact on residents. And we've had a number of high-profile issues come before those boards. The Planning Commission, for example, when we had the Y, had a lot of issues. The Zoning Board, obviously, we've had everything from Walgreens to signs to billboards. All of them are hot-button issues that I know I've received a lot of comments on. Residents can't generally attend those meetings. If we televise them or record them, then there's an opportunity to enhance what we are already enhancing on the cable channel. We have a YouTube network that would allow them to be shown so that residents could see what those boards do, and they perform a very important function. And I think educating people about their function can help address the concerns we've heard tonight, concerns we've heard before, and allow people who can't get to those meetings to see them.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Including us.
Thank you.
Including us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Including
go.
us, Bill.
But-
I will second that.
Attend.
What's that?
I attend as many of them as I can.
I know, but that would allow us to see them. I don't get to see the.
I don't get to see planning.
you-
I don't often get to see planning.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just Larry would have to.
Right.
You'll be all right with that?
Just a zoning board, I really don't want to get into, because then we have to have somebody here, we have to pay somebody to do that. So zoning and, you want to do zoning and planning? or just zoning?
I'll accept an amendment either way. If the
I'll-
board's consensus
I'll go
is
just
one-
zoning.
I'll accept that amendment so that
Okay,
the
then we
zoning
can-
board,
okay.
so
Let's try
that it
that
is the
one.
I'll
zoning
accept
board.
that as the second as well. I think it's a good start.
For
Yes.
just zoning to start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Why not do the planning commission?
Because you go to zoning.
Because you'd
first.
bore people to death half the time.
Well,
But
It really is that we have to have somebody
Yeah,
here.
if
and I
it's-
don't know.
if it's a-
Let's try it with the zoning board and
The
then.
land development issue that's significant enough, we could always
That's right.
request that it be
For thought.
televised.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I'm out of line here, but I would tell you that either way, my proposed 2015 budget is
Does
in the
not
printer.
include it.
So you will have, this board, when I do my budget presentation, you'll have to amend that, because it will affect it will affect the budget.
Bottom line, right.
And it will also, if I start it, I do not believe I will be capable of starting it prior to 2015. If I do, we will also be over budget.
Okay.
I say beginning with 2015, if you would accept
Yeah,
that.
2015,
That
that's
would be
fine.
fine. I mean, you're looking at potentially 8 hours a month of time because, the meetings aren't probably more than 4 hours each, twice a month. So we're looking at, at most 96 hours, and I don't know what we pay people.
Some
but
months
even-
might not even be that, because
Yeah,
they
because
only
they
meet
don't
once a
meet.
month.
So it's
during
a
the
not a
summer.
large expense, but the enhancement of public access, I think, is worth every penny of it.
Okay.
I guess there's one other issue I should bring up, is that, the zoning hearing board is an independent body.
Is.
And they really run their own meetings, so they could themselves have some input as to whether they want to be on television or not. I mean, we certainly are the funding body that would, a zoning hearing board is a unique character in that the township funds the zoning hearing board, but the zoning hearing board makes up their own procedural rules and whatnot. So I think we could suggest it and say we would fund it, but if they say we don't want to be on television, then.
Then we
you
vote
know,
then we
them off.
haven't- then
I think I'd like to look into that, have you look
Right.
into that.
Right.
We have televised our zoning hearing boards when it affected the billboards. So the seal is already broken. You can't just pick and choose which ones you want
Right.
televised. If the public's demanding that it's open, and it is an open hearing, I don't see the harm in, being transparent.
I'm not telling you there's any harm. All I'm saying is I just wanted to correct myself, and that what Mr. McGarity said to me, is there anything illegal about it? There's nothing,
Well, not only is
my answer doesn't change. There's nothing illegal about it.
Right.
It's still legal to do. I just didn't want to look like I was stepping on the toes of the zoning hearing board, telling them that they need to be on television. We can fund it, and they can do it, and there's certainly nothing wrong with doing it.
Can we ask
Yeah.
Mr. Byrne to talk to them about
I can do
that?
that,
Can you
yes.
do that?
But I do want to know, they're an adjudicative board. There is nothing in state law, and I've researched it as well, that prohibits the televising of those meetings. We televise everything from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on down. I was televised in Commonwealth Court recently. I mean, that's just normal
I'm
public
not-
access
I'm
at
not,
this point.
I'm not
they-
fighting
if-
with you. I'm not,
if-
I'm not, I'm
if
not
they-
disagreeing with you. Hold on one second. Let me just answer.
I just don't believe it's a question of whether they want it. Anyone can walk into those meetings with a camera and film those meetings. There's nothing that prohibits any of us or anyone here from doing that.
If they say they don't want us to do it, is there a way to appeal it? Can
I
we
don't
appeal
know.
it to anybody?
All I'm trying to bring up is that the zoning hearing board is an independent body. The zoning hearing board is charged through the MPC with establishing their own rules and regulations for conducting their meetings.
Try it.
It is absolutely legal. They can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to look like we are a board that's telling them they have to do it. I think we should consult with them, and we would fund it if we were going to, if they were going to.
Why don't we just put this on next month's agenda? Let Mr. Malone come in,
pass it. We
the
can
solicitor
pass it
for the
now.
zoning hearing board.
it may
If
be
they have
not-
any questions, they can ask the questions. Is there anything wrong with that? And if everything's legal and everything's all right, we'll all vote yes, I guess.
Pass it now.
It may very well be a non-issue. I mean, they may say, we're happy to do it. and
We can
that
deal
would
with
be
we can pass the resolution now and then deal with them.
I have no problem with discussing at the work session. I'd ask Mr. Byrne to research who is the authority to make the decision on that. We're the appointing authority of all the zoning boards.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I know off the top of my head, that the zoning hearing board is in charge of making their own rules and regulations. And the reason for that is you don't want to have a board of commissioners that controls the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board is a body of its own. So we don't make their rules and regulations. We do fund them, we pay for their court reporters, we pay for their solicitors, we pay for all the things that need to be paid for, but we don't control them. And I guess that the only question I have is the MPC says they make their own rules and regulations. If they don't want to go along with that, I don't know the answer.
They very well may say yes, but
They
I
very
think
well
you need
will
to
say
give
yes.
them that respect.
Exactly.
And have you talk to them.
Yeah, I think it's
They
just a
talk
matter
to
of
them
respect.
alone.
They have their own solicitor. I don't,
There's no problem with that. I mean, if they say yes,
Okay.
fine, we
Right.
put it on.
I agree with you.
Okay, so let's vote on the
We're all in
resolution.
agreement.
All right? You can vote against it if you'd like. Please call the roll.
Well, wait a
Mr.
minute,
DiMaio?
we're gonna vote now on it? Or
Yeah,
does that bring it to
it's
motion?
it's on.
Motion.
I made a
We're
motion.
gonna vote on the
I'm not
motion.
willing to withdraw it.
No, I'm not.
Sorry?
I said I made a motion, I'm not willing to withdraw it.
Okay,
It was
So-
seconded. It was, but seconded.
Yeah.
okay.
Please call the roll.
Mr. DiMaio?
No.
What's the motion? The motion is that we will?
Mrs. Hall?
Televised.
This is for zoning only, correct?
Zoning
Yes.
only, yes.
Zoning only,
15.
yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yeah, I would like the zoning solicitor to appear before, so I vote no for now. And see if we can have him come and give their comments of the zoning board.
Mr. Connell?
Yeah, I would like us to film it, but I'm going to say no for now because I really think we should approach them first and then move forward that way. But I am for filming, but no.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Absolutely.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Passed.
Okay? Any other new business? There being none other business, Commissioner D'Amelio.
Just want to bring up the Westgate Hills Civic Association movie night has been rescheduled to November 7th at 7:30, and the doors open at 6 p.m. I want to thank Brookline Fire Company for their, congratulate them for their 100th year anniversary, and the event that they had on Saturday night was wonderful, and I was very happy to be a part of it, and I thanked them. It was a great time, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Yes, I would like to, it's probably a little late for the library gala, but if you'd still like to go, you can go. It's this Saturday evening. Unfortunately, I will not be there. My daughter is getting married on Saturday, so otherwise I would be at the library gala. I'd like to thank Christine Ferris and the entire library board and all the participants for putting on the gala every year for the library. It's a great affair, and if anyone would like to attend, you know how to reach Christine. Also, the HPD will be having their annual meeting on October 29th at the CREC. That will be sent out, an email will be sent out concerning that. All the commissioners are invited. It's from 6:30 to about 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's an informative meeting about economic development within the township. And I'd like to, did Chris Whiting leave? Chris Whiting stepped down from the Civic Council. He is no longer going to be the president of the Civic Council and is taking a bit of a reprieve from his community service. He's been an outstanding public servant to all of us. He initiated the music festival. I worked with him on the Civic Council for several years. I think he's just a wonderful asset to this community. I'd like to thank him for everything that he's done, and I hope that he'll get a little rest and come back to us soon. And that is it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Siegel.
I don't think you should have prefaced your statement with unfortunately, so
What,
mazel tov on your daughter's
Unfortunately,
wedding.
that my daughter's getting married. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't attend the gala, but I'll be at another one.
Future son-in-law doesn't say
Yeah. No, he's a delightful young man.
And the only thing,
Unfortunately.
just was an odd preface.
Thank you for pointing it out.
The only thing I have is that next Wednesday, the 22nd at 7 will be my semi-annual constituent meeting, and that will be held in this room for anyone in the 4th Ward who has questions or concerns. Thank you.
Televised?
If they wanted to.
Larry will pay
Absolutely.
for it, sure.
Commissioner Heilman.
Yeah, I have a few things. First of all, this Saturday is the 23rd annual Billy Lake ALS Marathon. It's at Haverford College. It starts, hang on here, I got all the stuff here. Gotta just find it here. Should let Connor come up. 9 to 3 at Haverford College, and then in the evening, if you're not able to make it during the day, it's at Casey's in Drexel Hill, 7 to 9. All day long, there will be basketball games. The Phillies ball girls will be playing. There's 6 high school basketball teams playing. Is the media game still on? The media game is on. They have auctions, silent and live, both during the day and at night. You can get a lot of great games and different things at the event. So please attend that. Also, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's why the pink shirt and the polka dot pink tie. And a friend of mine, Christine Posencheg, who is also a constituent, is walking in the Avon Walk up in, I believe she's walking the one in New York this weekend. She has Team Busted Lion, which we've honored a few times for their fundraising efforts. If anybody would like to send a check to Team Busted Lion, you can make it out to the Avon Walk and send it to Christine Posencheg. That's Posencheg at 628 Valley View Road in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. 2 years ago, they raised $130,000 for the walk, and they were the leading fundraiser. Christine's best friend in life